it has been a year since we did our first retreat, and we've had a few in between, and now we're approaching another. And so, just your thoughts on what one should expect when retreating, whether or not that's virtual or in person. And I know that we're going to have some in-person retreats in the future, like we're manifesting all the things. But what shows up for the both of you when it comes to the retreat experience? Like, what should someone expect from our retreats?
When I hear the retreat, I just feel my heart start to pound. It's exhilarating. Retreats for me are really special for a couple of reasons. One, it's an opportunity to unplug from the matrix of my life. And then two, I think by nature, I love quiet. I love the opportunity just to listen to the sights and the sounds and just be really present. And in that retreat container, that is celebrated, right? So everybody who's there is wanting a retreat experience. And the organizers, the facilitators, the teachers are skilled at holding space and having time in between, if that is the actual sits, the talks, the independent time. So for me to just show up, I feel cared for.
I'm glad that you mentioned just showing up, being cared for, facilitators, because my next thing was about, like, how is that any different from a regular vacation, right? Because somebody might say, well, I've never been on retreat before. I may be able to Google and see what a retreat experience may be like, but how is that any different from going on a vacation versus retreating, in your eyes?
I guess it depends on the kind of vacation you're going to, right? Because I like to just lay on the beach with some libations in hand and kind of do nothing and take the world in.
I like
And
that.
to a degree, yeah, to a degree, a retreat may have some similarities with that. Or let's say your vacation is going to on hiking. I'm channeling you, Donna. So going hiking, right? And going on a lot of outdoor walks and things. So to a degree, it has some similarities as far as taking the world in and being present exactly where you are, and you're planning for this time to either get some relaxation in different forms of relaxation, and really being present in time, as opposed to always thinking what's the next thing that's coming up or what's the thing on your to-do list. So that's a similarity in that sense. But I feel like the retreat is different in many ways, but one of the ways I'll mention now, and then I'll tag team you girls back in, is setting up the space where you're going to be so that you can have the optimal retreat experience. So if it's going to be virtual, in a busy household, especially, well, regardless of age, but I have the dog and the kid, and there's a lot of things that could be happening. And to really get the most out of it, I like to set up my space as if I were there in person as much as possible, so that I can have the full-on experience of, hopefully, right, feeling relaxed and having, just setting up that expectation. Because if I don't prep the meals beforehand, and if I don't tell people where they have to do and what they have to do and where they're going to be, or make this space by myself, then I find my attention being pulled in places where I don't want it to be pulled, because I want to be in the right here, right now, as the retreat is happening.
Yeah, Vanessa, I'm glad that you mentioned the virtual experience, because we do have to kind of set our container in a sense, right? And make sure that we prepare for it. And so I know with our retreats, we send out information prior to, so that people, like a checklist, so that people know what to expect, and then also how to prepare for what works for them, depending on their household situations, whether or not they choose to step away from their normal duties of life, or if they have those things still going on in the background and they just, really make preparations for that. But then also for in person, it's really just being in community with each other and a destination. And so I know with our theme, we have this virtual destination vacation. And so we want the mindset to be wherever you want it to be. So if you want to be on an island, that's where you're going to be. If you want to be in Arizona or wherever you see yourself, like these are the things that we can imagine. And we just set up our containers in that way to really feel grounded so that we can experience everything that's happening from all of us in those moments. So if someone said, well, why should I even go on retreat? Like, how would y'all reference that? Why should I go on retreat? Why is it even a thing? Like, who wants to do that?
To get to know yourself, to kind of acknowledge your inner life. And I think I use the word matrix, right? So we're busy, professional, family, community, church, right? Like we're wearing multiple hats or juggling, 3 or 4 responsibilities at all times or most of the time. So why go on retreat? So that you can really focus on yourself and get to know your thoughts, your feelings, your body sensations, and just kind of get reacquainted to who you are. And for me, that you have that opportunity in a retreat setting.
Yeah. And it's so easy, I think, not easy, but it comes naturally to us because we have the experience of retreats, right? Because we've been into them in person and virtually. And I'm trying to put myself back to that in the beginner's shoes of like, what am I signing up for? What am I doing? What do you mean 3 hours? What are we going to do during that time? Right. And I love, Donna, the way you put it, to really get to know yourself, because in regular life, we're always on the go. We always have a bazillion things to do. We always have, like I said before, so many things pulling our attention. But when there's nothing else pulling your attention and you're just there, I don't know, it's really, you find yourself on a deeper level that you really, even when you're going to bed and it's quiet, your mind is still going on like what's happening tomorrow. Like you really don't give yourself that opportunity, and a retreat provides that for you, whether it's virtual or in person. And you don't know what you're missing out on until you've had it. And then you don't go and you're like, oh, I need another one and another one and another one.
And another one and another one. You know what, is really that sense of disconnecting, right? Even if it is virtual, even if it is for 3 hours in a virtual setting, like disconnecting to reconnect, right? And so even if it's a destination, the same thing. And those are some things that we always want to come back to in being in that space. And I'm glad that you mentioned, Vanessa, about the beginner's phase of retreat, like the expectations, the jitters, the not knowing of what's before you. And so with that being said, is the retreat experience for anybody? Like, all are welcome, we know that, but it's not necessarily just for advanced practitioners that have been doing this thing for a long time and know what to expect and what they're getting out of it, but it is also for those who don't know. And we welcome everybody at every phase of their mindfulness journey and practice. And once they experience it one time, they're going to always want to retreat. And we know that because after the first time we retreated in any capacity, we were like, okay, we're doing this again, because it felt good in our spirit and our body. And it was like, I need that feeling of disconnecting to reconnect, because we all have so many different things going on. And then being in community with each other and other people doing the same things, whatever that looks like, eating some good food if it's in person, eating some good food if it's virtual, and you set it up that way that's what we're doing, So for the beginners out there wondering whether or not they should retreat, what would be your advice for them?
The first thing that comes to mind is that feeling, and I know if you're a beginner, you may not identify with this right away, but I'm thinking that feeling whenever we finish retreats, like I'm thinking like the Kool-Aid smile that I always have across my face, because it's just such, it's like a feel good vibes. Like we finished the retreats and I literally feel like I'm floating and like nobody could mess with my vibe for the rest of the day, because it's just, I don't know, it's almost like a natural high. And I know that sounds really corny and like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, but that's really the way, I don't know, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Is just, it's so worth it to give that gift to yourself.
Yeah, putting on the beginner shoes, I think it's natural with anything that you haven't had an experience with, be a little nervous or uneasy. And to trust that the people who are coming to the retreat, the people who are organizing the retreat have all that in mind. And so we're here to hold you through that. So I think coming just with an open mind and an open heart to have a full experience. Because we can describe each one of our first time retreats, and that may, right, I see you shaking your head, right? Like,
No.
we don't want to over explain it, but coming with an open mind and an open heart, and know that you're going to be loved and supported.
Yeah. And then even with our retreats, it's the best retreat to attend just because you have the three of us in one place at one time, just being fully present and supporting those who are in our presence with the various and the mounds of experience that we all collectively bring together in the different styles and the fun that we have. And so, these pictures that we talk about in other podcasts about what mindfulness is and what it isn't, and how we create these containers and spaces and people feel comfortable. And, this is, again, mindfulness with people of color, where we see you because we are you. And so those connections are authentic when people show up. So with that being said, I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but we do have these retreat experiences, and I believe we have them like 3 to 4 times a year. And we're super excited to have anyone and everyone that is in a BIPOC community come and share space in community with one another. And I don't know if you ladies have any last words, but I'm excited. I can't wait to be able to just be in the place, in the space, and facilitate and co-share and all the things.
Definitely. And they're fun. They're fun, and everybody has a different experience, but they're fun. We make it fun. There's music, we eat, we move. It's not just staring at each other the whole time. We really have a good time. And like Donna said before, come in with an open mind and an open heart, and it's totally worth it.
Ditto.
So with that, we appreciate y'all. We can't wait to see y'all, whether or not it's this retreat or the next retreat, but we have so many years and moons to go. And so retreat with us, mindfulness with people of color, our destination vacation coming soon. And so we'll see you soon.